Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a semi-quick video, but I wanted to walk through something a lot of people have asked me about. So they've really asked me about what my issue is when I talk about Boox sync and I talk about how it syncs across devices. And I want to clarify that because it isn't the sync itself. It's not the quickness of it in some cases, although what you'll see here is a little bit concerning in some of it. But it's not notes. Notes, for the most part, are excellent on Boox devices. They sync very well. My concern and consternation and issues have been revolving around the library. I just don't understand how it syncs, why it makes the decisions it does, why it has to be such a manual process when you open up every single document. And you'll, you'll see the fact that I discover something along the way. And I would have discovered this earlier today had I been able to access the owner's manual. And you'll see why I couldn't. And I do apologize for some of the commentary while we're waiting, but I kind of wanted you to see that process. I wanted you to see how long it was going to take for this process to play out. And I'm not throwing shade on Boox. This is constructive criticism. This is one of those things, like I would for any platform. I think they have a real winner with the way they structure this. But since you don't have a unified folder structure the same way that you do on some other platforms, you're relying on two different sync service. I don't know if it's two different sync services or two different pathways, because you have your notes on one that are excellent, do a great job, and then you have your library on another, which is having a lot of struggles. So let's go ahead and get into it. I will see you on the other side. All right, everyone. So here we are with the Go 10.3, and this is the Gen 1. I don't have the Gen 2 yet, so I just want to make that clear. This is the original Go 10.3 over here on my right. And then on the left, we have the Note Air 5C. Now, one thing I've been asked a lot about is the sync between devices. And I will say that the syncing on notes on Boox is fabulous. It's on par with Supernote or anyone else. Supernote actually has conflict files where Boox generally does not, but it sometimes has overwrites or some other things that can cause an issue. But that's a video for another time. But one thing I think Boox could really benefit from is fixing their sync with their library. So with your books, PDFs, so they don't have a unified file system the same way that someone like Remarkable or Supernote would, where you can just dump anything you want into a folder. Your PDFs and your EPUBs have to go into the library or into this storage system. And I'm still trying to figure out the whole directory mode versus scan mode. And maybe that's where my problem is. So if there's anybody out there who's a power user, but I'll just show you my frustration. So today at work, I had the Note Air 5C with me, and I was trying to solve this problem. So I thought, well, let me pull up the user manual. Now watch what happens when I press on this. It tells me that it can't open it because the source file has not been uploaded to the cloud, but yet it's synced with all of my materials. And I don't know how to actually do that without a manual process for every one of these. So for example, if I go here, this one's going to open. And if I go here, this one is going to open as well. And then it's now going to ask me this. And this is another issue that, again, I could use tons of help with. And I think partially it asks this question because of the fact that Boox has so many devices. So it says sync font size, spacing, and everything. I never do that because if I was to do that, then what I would have is something going from the Note Max, or I don't have a smaller reader, but let's say the Palma, going down to the Palma, and I'm wanting to just read something, and it wouldn't scale appropriately to the PDF. It wouldn't keep the same aspect ratio. It would blow it up in a weird way. So that's why I'm glad they don't recommend it. But you have to be real careful, and it tells you not to do that if you're using different size devices. And then you can see automatically embed PDF data, absolutely, and that takes a little extra time, and then automatically sync when new data is detected, no further notification. So I go ahead and I hit that and I hit sync. Now, theoretically, what should happen at this point, since these are on both devices, any of these changes that you see should now come over to this particular page or this particular document. So let's go ahead to page 6 and see what we get. And as of right now, it's not there, but it takes a while. So I want to make sure I do give it enough time to do that. And it may even have to be one of those things where you have to exit out and then come back in. So we can leave this one a little bit for later. But what I wanted to do was show you that. And so let's go ahead and we'll close that out, and we'll close it out over here. And then again, if I go into my manual over here, I get it. Today at work, when I needed the manual, I couldn't get to it, even though it's syncing my read history, it's syncing my analytics, but I'm not always sure how to push this up to the cloud. Okay, so here's what I have to do. And this is why this is confusing to me. And, I cut a little bit out of this because I had to double check it all again, but I wanted to show you what this looks like. So you saw, I press here, nothing. I press here, it opened. Now, if I hold down on this, you get this new menu and you can rename your file. You can do all kinds of things. You can also go over here to sync. And when I go to sync, what you're going to see is this underline here that says upload source file. And when you do that, tap upload source file to upload a Boox source file to the cloud storage. And you say, got it. And then that's what I did. And I said, upload it. It's going to say, do you want to upload that? I'll say no more reminders. Only supports uploading single files within 200 megabyte batch upload, library batch management. So maybe this has helped me actually by walking through this, and hopefully it'll help some of you. Maybe I can select multiple files at once and then do this sync. And then after that, what I should get, so let's go ahead and do this one. And now that is uploading. So once that goes all the way up, so we'll let it do its uploading in the background. And then we'll check it here in another minute. And then we'll see if we can do the batch upload. And that's the issue that I'm running into, is I'm not able to sync these on a consistent basis. And that's because of these two separate, distinct filing systems. Notes, sync your notes, syncs great. The library, totally different process. It's not automatic. It's not intuitive. It's hard to find. And I'm just a little bit flummoxed because today, when I was trying to figure it out, I just wanted to look it up in the user manual, which I couldn't do. But again, once you learn it, I think it'll be a lot better for me. And I know a lot of people say, oh, well, once you put it on push read, you can do that. Yeah, you can. And that does open automatically, but not in any of your source PDFs files, anything you put on the tablet, download to the tablet through another method. And so that's what my concern has always been. Let's see if this one is popping up yet. Not yet. So it's not there yet. Let's see if we sync it, sync and refresh all data, and we'll give it just a minute. But while we're doing that, let's try going to bulk management. So we'll go to bulk management and let's go ahead and select all and upload. So I'm assuming, do you want to upload selected documents to the Onyx Cloud? Okay. So what I can do there is I can bulk do this. So actually this video has been really cathartic for me to be able to figure this out. So I appreciate all of you going through this process with me, because to me, that doesn't feel intuitive. It doesn't feel like something that you would just know. You would have to really read and study the manual. And I did look at the manual and didn't find it the first time. I tried to look it up again today. And of course, I couldn't access the manual because of this issue. But let's go ahead and take a look and see if any of these have uploaded over here now. And still not. Nope, still not. This one I think may have already been on there, but nope. See, it's giving me that notification here too as well. Nope, I don't want to sync font sizes. Yes, I want to automatically sync when there's new data. So now you'll see writing come through, and then we'll go ahead and we will check on any others that are here. See if this leadership one has updated. Let's go ahead into the leadership one over here. And so far it hasn't updated. same text should be on the same pages. So whenever you do this switch, you'll see some of this stuff is here. So a lot of these are already here. And one thing I will note is I have tried to tweak these ghosting issues with the point 3 with the 4.11 software. And it's still, I mean, I don't know if anybody can see that. This is on speed mode. It's supposed to be helping fix that issue. And you can see how clear it is over here. And this is on the 4.2 beta. So hopefully when they bring that to these other devices, this and the Note Max will get a lot better. But yeah, if you look, if we go back to page 6, it's still not there. And we closed, let's see if we close all the way out of every file in Neo Reader. Let's close every single file here. And let's go ahead and close Neo Reader, close it, get all the way out. Let's close Neo Reader over here, get all the way out, and let's see if our Boox still has not downloaded. So I'm not going to be able to probably show this at this point, that it's actually done what I've asked it to do, because it's still uploading to the cloud. And until it finishes that, I don't know exactly how to show this any differently. That was one we already had, so we'll close out of that. And maybe that's what I have to do here too, is go over, maybe I have to do it on both sides. So let's try this. So we're going to say select all, we're going to say upload, and then we're going to say, now we'll see if any of these catch up with one another. And we'll say sync, and force the sync, and we'll say, this one's actually syncing right now. And we'll see whether or not, once these icons are done doing a sync, if these have come over to one another yet. Still no. Still no. And still no. And one thing is, it's very hard to tell what the process is or where it is in the process. You don't get a visual representation other than this cogwheel or this circle of where it is in the file process, how many files it has to go, what percentage it's at. You don't get to see that in real time. And I think that really causes some headaches. Now, maybe everybody doesn't use it like this, but I think most people would. When you think of a library, you think of a collection of books. And when you think of sync, you think of having those books available across devices. That would be my theory. And it's kind of frustrating that this is not there. So I'm going to give it just another time or two here. But yeah, I'm not seeing any of these come over. And it's been a while. I've done this in real time just to be able to be as transparent as possible about why this is a frustration point for me. The ones that are already on the devices are there, but the syncing is just not happening in real time the way you would think it would. And I don't know what's causing that to be an issue. So is it just me? Are any of you not having this issue? Are all of your things coming through just fine? Because you can see here, we've been on this for several minutes. And this text on page 6, after I've closed out, reopened, is still not there. And I just don't know how to fix that, because I really want to use these devices together to be able to, really work across them and test them out effectively, because I enjoy them both for different reasons and in different circumstances. But it's just really frustrating. And I don't know how long it's going to take it to sync between the two. Try one last time. Nope. Starting download. Okay, there we go. So you can see, and I'll pop up on the screen here, how many minutes that took for that sync to happen. And see, you can see here now, it's showing that it's available and downloading. So it's downloading that. And then it should work kind of like a Kindle does. And there it is. And it's going to ask me that same question on every document you open. And I'm going to uncheck that one and check that one. And then I'm going to say sync. And then it's going to sync. There you have it. That's how long it took to be able to have that work and come across to the device. And obviously, it looks like now over here, let's see if this one still doesn't have the text. So that didn't work. Even though they're both showing that they've been synced. But now let's see if this one opens. Nope, source file still isn't there. And the source file isn't here. So there is another quandary, right? So you're looking here, no source file. You're looking here, no source file. So my guess would be that this is on my Note Max or somewhere else, and I haven't done this process to it. So it's not like you can just do it on one device and have it work, because I can't open either of these files right now because I don't know for sure which device they're on. And the same is here. So just wanted to walk through that. Wanted to give an explanation because I know a lot of people have asked me, why do you have an issue with the library sync? Why do you talk about Supernote or Remarkable? And I don't own a Remarkable. I've just seen it demonstrated. And I know a lot of people, including David over at Tablet Tech, have shown the Remarkable and how fast and accurate the sync is. And Boox on the Note side, excellent. Moves it all very seamlessly, works very well. The library to me has been not efficient. I've pulled myself away from using it as much for that reason, because of the fact that my organizational structure is very hard to do when I can't get the files where I want them, when I want them, on what device I'm using. So anyway, let's hop off of here. Let's, kind of sum all of this up and give you a few parting thoughts. See you in a second. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging in on that video. I just want to say this, again, is not throwing shade on Boox. It's just I don't understand. And if you all have a better workflow, a better way of doing this, please let me know down in the comments. If you haven't had this issue, maybe you use the library in a different way than I do. Maybe it's because I've never used directory mode and directory mode works differently. I don't know. I'm still digging into some of those settings. But this, to me, since this is the default, and the default is the scan mode, then the default should be easier to understand and to work with. And being able to bulk upload, at least that's good. If you're on one device, you can go ahead and do that as you add things, or do them one at a time every time you do it. I get all of that. But if you have multiple devices and you're using multiple devices, or even if you just have different size devices. So let's say you're pulling things in on the Go 10.3, but then you're reading them on the Palma, and you may add something on the Palma, or you're using the Note Air 4C or 5C, and you're using the Note Max or the Tab XC. Whatever combination, trying to keep up and understand where all of the documents are loaded onto which device, and then to make sure that you send those up to the cloud so that you don't forget. So when you need them on another device, they're there. That's a real friction point for me, because you saw two of these documents wouldn't even open on either of these devices, which means they're on one of the other devices. So it'll sync your reading history. It will sync your PDFs and all of that as far as reading analytics and annotations. So it's very similar to Kindle in that way. But instead of just automatically you press the button and it downloads it from the cloud on a new device, it never pushes it to the cloud unless you go in and physically tell it to. So those are just some of my frustrations with this. Again, if you know of a better way, please drop it down in the comments. This has always been a community. I've always asked for your input. I answer every comment. I want to engage with you in conversation. Let me know what you see and where I may be getting it wrong. I wanted to be as transparent as I could in this video to show you there were some things cut, but that was just because it took me a little while to figure them out. But the syncing, once I figured it out, that was real time, other than minor edits for, a word here or there, or a pause here or there of language, a misspeak, something like that. But for the most part, that was real time. And I also put it in the video exactly how long it took before they started to have those changes sync. And in one case, the annotations never did come over. So I don't know what that means. And I would assume they will come over at some point. I'm just not sure when. But everything else seemed to have caught up. And at least I could get the materials on the devices. So anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for being with me. Thanks for all of your support. And I will look forward to seeing you in the next one. And until then, keep on moving forward. Have a great night. Bye.